Welcome to the Sea Trade Maritime podcast. In this episode, we have two guests and we'll be discussing decarbonisation through fleet efficiency. The topic has been plucked from the upcoming gmec conference at SMM 2024, and our guest Suraj Batra is a panellist for that session and will be giving us a sneak peek of what to expect on the green stage at SMM on September 4th. Suraj is a technical manager at tanker owner-operator Ardmore Shipping and will give us his insights into efficient fleet operation, something Ardmore has a clear focus on and has since its inception. Claus Ulrich Selbach also joins us from Hamburg Messe and Congress, organisers of SMM, to tell us more about SMM as a whole and what we can expect from gmec 2024. Let's get into it.
gmec has always been the core of our environmental topics at SMM, and that for many, many years now. I think it's like 14 years ago that we started it, or even more. And we are glad that we are doing it together again with our friends from Sea Trade Maritime. The big news is gmec will be accessible for everyone who buys a visitor ticket. So we are going to move it out from Room Chicago. It's not anymore a paid conference. It will be of one of our 4 open stages in the halls. As we all know, one of the big topics we're going to discuss at SMM, maritime security and defense. Another one is recruiting and careers. Another big topic is digitalization, also with AI. And the biggest elephant in the room definitely is decarbonisation. How are we going to reach as industry the goals of 2050? And we have a lot of offers for that at SMM. And the key offer definitely is gmec.
Sure, we're about to hear from one of the gmec speakers and take a bit of a dive into the topic, and we're going to catch up with Uli at the end of the episode for some more information about the broader programme and SMM. Suraj, welcome to the podcast. Could you please introduce yourself and explain a little about Ardmore Shipping and your role at the company?
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate you having me on the call. Ardmore Shipping, predominantly an MR tanker owner, established in 2010, headquartered in Ireland, in Cork. And we currently own 22 ships with a few 25Ks and 37 chemical tankers as well. I head the technical department. I'm the technical manager with Ardmore Shipping. Seafarer in the past, chief engineer, started out my career in 98. Came ashore in 2009 with ship management, basically with home ship management, and I was looking after Ardmore's first ships that they bought. Moved up to look after the fleet with home as a fleet manager there, and then eventually started working with Ardmore directly as their projects head, and now they are technical manager since 2016. Yeah.
Great, so sort of come up through the ranks. This is going to sound a bit like I'm blowing smoke, but I do think it is fair to say that Ardmore has a reputation for sort of quality tonnage and pretty efficient operations. I've interviewed CEO Anthony Gurnee on a number of occasions in the past, and I know efficiency is something that he holds in very high regard. Now, Tony is due to retire, I think, in the next month or so. Is that same focus on efficiency going to continue through into new leadership at the company?
Yes, as you rightly said, Tony is due to retire in September. Efficiency has been up there for Tony and Mark, and definitely Gernot and the people taking over will also hold it in that high regard. I think now it's sort of ingrained into us. It's a part of our DNA. It's something we do on a day-to-day basis, and something we also advocate to our ship staff. So it's right from people out on our ships to all of us ashore. So I think definitely there's going to be a lot of focus even with Gernot at Bart and the helm now, and so I'm looking forward. It's going to be exciting. Definitely, also they will tap into the digital space, so that's going to be quite interesting.
I mean, a lot of that is quite easy to see from the outside. There's a sustainability report that's been coming out for a few years now. I think maybe one of the first to start regularly bringing those out. The most recent one, the 2023 sustainability report, came out just over a month ago, I think. And there's a list of energy saving measures there that have been deployed across the fleet. Are there particular technologies or initiatives in there that you're proud of, or maybe that surprised you as far as their performance was concerned?
When you look at the sustainability report, if I recall, there are about 8 or 9 of them. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I was pretty much integral part of implementing most of them, and I am proud of all of them. I mean, each technology doesn't give you the same benefits. You will not have the same outcome from all of them. We do follow a process when we select a certain technology and we decide to go fleet wide. But I think if you ask me which are my favorites of what we've implemented, probably up there is the micro boiler. But most of all, it's the hull coatings that sort of I hold very close to my heart, and I think I take a lot of personal interest in hull coatings itself. So we've done a lot of hull coatings. And I think there's a lot more to come, and you'll hear a lot more from Ardmore, hopefully in our 2024 report. So there are a lot of developments taking place, and it's definitely a space to watch with Ardmore. But to answer that question, I think hull coatings and the microboiler have been the top performers of the lot that we've implemented.
I don't know about you, but every now and then, when normal social conversation turns to my work, I've ended up talking about efficiency before, and hull coatings is always the one that really surprises people outside of the industry. That there's so much money to be made by spending money on better paint or or making sure that hull coatings are properly.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can keep a hull clean and keep that below a certain percentage of fouling, I mean, there's so much that can be saved. There's so much of efficiency that can be tapped into over there.
Could you tell us a little more about the micro boilers?
So we first installed a micro boiler back in 2020 on one of our ships. So these are basically for the ships that don't have a composite boiler. Then we look at a micro boiler which is installed on the exhaust trunking off generator itself. It is not micro the way it sounds. It's pretty large in terms of footprint, but it seems to have really worked for us in the sense that we're looking at between zero point 0.8 to a ton savings when the ship is in port or at anchorage. So that's a significant amount to save from boiler consumption itself. And from a capex point of view, it isn't that expensive a piece of kit as you look at other technologies. The only thing is definitely you'll need to look at installing it with probably other downtime that you have in a yard or something of that sort, because taking time off to putting that on board could be a length process.
Sure. And just on the sustainability report, they're all there to see on the website. And in the latest report, it also compares against previous years. It shows a total emissions growth in 2023, which I suspect is driven by greater distances sailed and higher cargo volume carried as well. So you'd expect the amount to go up. But there are also fluctuations in there in vessel efficiency ratios. I wonder what are the operational factors that sort of most heavily influence things like EOI and the efficiency ratios of different parts of the fleet?
There's quite a number of things that sort of impact the EOI and the overall efficiency, if you want to put it that way. I think speed is one, and operating at higher speeds is something which definitely increases fuel consumption. Cargo, you've just mentioned that's another part. Route optimization, and that's where we're very very focused with voyage optimization and looking at that currently. And we've recently, if you've seen in the media, we've gone fleet wide with a voyage optimization tool as well. Another thing is hull and propeller conditioning or condition monitoring. We think, and just going back to our conversation just a few minutes ago, hull cleaning is such an important and critical part for us to tap into that energy and keep the hull at an optimum level where we can keep our consumptions down. Besides that, I think also trim, ballast intakes. Trim is a big focus for Ardmore. It's been for quite some time with our fleet analytics. So I think all of these comprise of the elements that you've just spoken of, and even then, certain technological integrations like air lubrication and things like that, which we've not yet implemented on our ship lubrication, but we've looked at it perhaps at a new build or sometime in the future.
And just a little peek ahead, I suppose, for the next report, a lot of vessels going the long way around the Cape to avoid the Red Sea. You get the double hit
Absolutely, yeah,
then.
that's absolutely, yeah, and that's a point I missed there, and a very critical one as well. That with all the geopolitical issues that are taking place, we are taking the longer route, and that is adding up to the fuel consumption and obviously speed as well, which is a huge contributor to this.
Move on to regulation quickly. IMO regional regulations sort of piling commercial pressures on to decarbonize. Is there a particular regulation or aspect of a regulation that's influencing the technical and commercial decisions that you're making for the fleet right now? I think maybe is pooling under Fuel EU sort of changing the fleet strategy slightly?
Obviously, the IMO greenhouse strategy has a huge impact, and this drives us to adopt cleaner technologies across the fleet. But EXI is more from a design aspect, and that is something we have in mind for any new builds or anything that comes in the future. But CII again is another contributing factor here. Looking at EU fuel maritime regulations, I think for us ETS, it's more of a pass through cost right now. as we are trading pretty heavily in Europe on the spot market. So every time it's sort of absorbed into our freight, and then that's passed on to the charterers. So it's more of a pass through sort of a cost. From CII, we are monitoring CII, but we don't make a suboptimal sort of a trading decision based on that to protect CII as such, if you want to put it that way. With regards to fuel EU, yes, we are still at a very preliminary stage. I know it's just less than 5 months down the road, but we are at an investigating stage right now. Obviously, that's because of biofuels and the logistics issues, and but definitely commercial pooling is a very attractive option that we think. But yeah, it's our departments internally are looking into it, and I think they'll be in a better position to answer those questions. But from where I look at it, this is where the fuel EU is for us currently.
Sure, and I expect again the pooling arrangements might influence decisions about new builds more than perhaps fleet operations at the moment as well. We're here for gmec to promote gmec and give a little sneak peek of what's coming up in the panel that you're joining. And I know that Christina from Bound for Blue is on the same gmec panel as you, and I know she'll ask the question. So I'm going to give you a chance to practice it here. The Ardmore fleet doesn't currently have any wind assisted propulsion installations. Is that a technology that you've explored before or are exploring at the moment?
Yeah, we did look at Flettner rotors back in 2020 or 2021. I think we did a case study on one of our ships, and we very recently also looked at Bound for Blue, the sales. Unfortunately, this current point of time, one, it doesn't make that kind of financial sense for us from a return of investment point of view, looking at our current fleet age. But definitely, it is something we will keep exploring and looking at in the future. It is a very novel and a new technology, so that is also something we have on our minds and something we'd like to keep an eye on and see how it's developing over the immediate future, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah.
Obviously picking up pace as a technology, and there's more and more data coming out that I think is slowly being verified by class societies and the rest. So hopefully the decision will be easier for you in the future. Well, Suraj, thanks for your time today. Great speaking with you, and look forward to seeing you in Hamburg in September. We now welcome back Uli from Hamburg Messe to tell us more about what's on offer in Hamburg this September 3 to 6. Uli, gmec is one of the 5 main conferences at SMM. What other topics can visitors expect to hear about during the week of SMM conferences?
Even if I repeat myself, we have the main issues, the main pain points of the shipping and shipbuilding industry will be discussed in various sessions, and you will find with our exhibitors many solutions that will help you when you come to SMM from 3rd to 6th September. So I would say the big elephant in the room is decarbonisation, how we are going to achieve the 2050 goals and with which technology. And there we also have a session about the nuclear option, having nuclear plants at various harbors to produce enough hydrogen to have enough ammonia or methanol. And that's something very special topic, especially for the people here in Germany, which are not big fans of the nuclear option, but we have to discuss it, and that will happen at SMM. We're going to talk big times about digitalization, and we have an own AI center with about 12 maritime startups who are specialized in artificial intelligence, plus the other maritime startup area with another 10 to 12 startups showing solutions for bigger partners in digitalization of the shipbuilding industry. There will be also startup pitches, startup nights, and for the first time there will be a maritime defense and a safety startup pitch with young companies from the field of maritime security and defense. Adding to all the topics around future fuels, we established a future fuels area dedicated only to future fuels companies in Hall A2. And you will have some 30 players there presenting what can be done in the field of future fuels, on top of all those companies who are exhibiting also in the other areas. We listen to the industry and we know that recruiting is a big topic. So we extended our recruiting days, our maritime career market, the Maritime Career Forum, to 2 days, Thursday and Friday, with many exhibitors from many big companies, smaller companies, universities that are seeking new colleagues. We're going to have an excessive marketing for students in schools and universities, but also for young professionals from other industries. And we want to really make them more enthusiastic about the maritime industry, which is actually, with no doubt, the best. So that will be on Thursday and Friday. Another big topic, if you like it or not, the demand is much higher for the naval industry. So we have a new partner for our Maritime Security Defense Conference on Thursday and Friday, and expecting several Navy delegations and Navy chiefs coming to Hamburg. And we are going to have more demand for dual use. So SMM is not a show that now shows weapon systems, but it is a show where you buy everything that works in a frigate or in a cruise ship in the same way. Another one, talking about cruise ships, we're going to have big marine interiors at SMM area in Hall B5 for the first time. All 120 marine interiors exhibitors will be focused in one hall with their own cruise and ferry stage. And with CLIA, the International Cruise Line Association, and with CLIA, the International Cruise Line Association, doing sessions there, showing their exhibition Voyage about how cruise is getting greener, and many more offers like the cruise and ferry route. And last but not least, it's also about finance. We're going to have some sessions about financing, like from the Trade and Ship Owner Forums at gmec, as we said. And we have two other more conferences, Maritime Future Summit about digitalization, and the Offshore Dialogue about the maritime technology, Arctic technology, and so on.
Sounds like there's been some real innovation and development on the program and on the show floor as well. So lots of new stuff for visitors to see. And what are the main three topics we'll be covering at gmec in 2024?
Well, one topic is about how can we accelerate the maritime decarbonization, because 2050 sounds far away, but ships that are built now still going to be on the open sea in 2050, and we need to decide which alternative technologies will help us the most. And we have to be very open for different technologies, and that will be something that is discussed at the gmec panel. And I think it's also open to the nuclear option, the different methanol, ammoniacs, wind, and whatsoever. So don't miss on that one. Great speakers from MAN, Lloyd's Register, and CLNG and ABS. And the second part is always, how do you finance decarbonization? And it's great to have the technology. It's great to have the plan. It's great to have the goal, but it's also about money, money, money. So how can we all finance the sustainable maritime operations? And that will be very interesting to see Nils Christian Hacke from KfW Apex Bank and Thorsten Petersen from C-SPAN, together with the moderator Nick Chubb from Theseus, to discuss at gmec. And the third panel I'm really looking forward to is, how do you get more efficient in decarbonization through fleet efficiency? And that's a very important topic with great speakers from various areas. And one important tool to become more efficient is definitely artificial intelligence. And that's what this panel is going to be about. To this big topic of decarbonization, it's also important to talk about the human factor and the future of seafaring, training, trends, and retention. What can be done in this field to move on, to get quicker, to have better trainings, to push for decarbonization? And that will be another very important session happening at gmec. And last but not least, the last session will be ship recycling. And it's not only ship recycling, it's you call it upcycling, retrofit. It's not only about new builds, it's also about what is happening with ships that can be redone and made fit for less CO2 emission. So I would say 5 wonderful sessions at gmec about 3 very important topics.
Great, thanks, Ollie. And we're about to take a deeper dive into one of those topics right now, and we'll pick up with you again at the end of the show to find some more details about gmec and the wider SMM offering this year. Just finally, I mean, gmec focuses on the creating a greener maritime industry, but I've seen that SMM itself is looking to be more environmentally friendly this year. Can you tell us a little bit more about the initiatives around that?
If you go on our website, you actually see a whole program of what we are doing, where we're getting our electricity from, that we try to prevent using too many wrappings around things. But I think the two big things, two big steps for this year is one, we will not have any floor carpets. So better don't come with leather shoes, wear some sneakers, because there will be no carpet in the halls. But this really saves us from wasting tons and tons of carpet. The second thing is we achieved with the city of Hamburg that all visitors, only the visitors this time, hopefully 26, also the exhibitors, with that ticket they buy, they can use during SMM the public transportation of the city of Hamburg for free. So I think those are two big things that we also do as a trade show organizer, and that's very important that we also deliver. We cannot only expect that from the industry.
Yeah, that's fantastic news. I know a lot of people rely on taxis when they go to trade shows, but there's very high demand at a show as big as SMM, so beat the queues by getting public transport, hey? Uli, thanks for your time and for appearing on the Sea Trade Maritime podcast, and hope all goes well in Hamburg later this year.
Yes, auf Wiedersehen to everyone, and make sure that you have your hotel booked. See you soon.